Hi everyone, it's Monday and we are live, and welcome to this week's Monday Morning Live. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Monday Morning Live. If you're new joining us, I'm Sophie, and we also have Lisa with us today. Give us a wave, Lisa. And we're really glad that you are here with us. So you almost just caught me mid-yawn, because actually today we got up a little bit extra early because it's an exciting day, because we are back in the youth office. So we are in completely different rooms. I even have my screens behind me as well. I'm back at my desk. Lisa is in our meeting room, and so that's really exciting, but it did mean that I had to get up a little bit earlier than I've been used to for the last few months. So I have a big coffee. I'm sure Lisa has her tea as well.
Yep.
But we're excited today to get into our topic, because we're going to be talking about prayer today. And prayer is obviously a pillar of our Christian faith, of our Catholic faith. It's really important to us. Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about what prayer means to you?
Yes. So prayer actually keeps me grounded, focused, and most of the time helps to calm me down, actually. It's just a great way for me, at least anyway, to just kind of let out all the frustration or the angst or the worry or the anxiety, and just to have it out rather than inside kind of churning. So I don't know what I'd be without it, actually.
Yeah, I think for me, prayer is like a staple of the day. Like, it's kind of like, if I don't have my cup of tea and some prayer time in the morning, then I don't really know how to go about my day. Like, I can tell if I don't do it. It's part of my routine, but more than a routine. Like, it's, how we connect with God, because we know that prayer is like a friendship. If you don't talk to your friends, then you lose touch, you kind of lose focus, you grow distant. So if we pray, then we can stay in touch with God, and we can have that friendship with Him. What's your favorite way to pray?
Well, it's changed throughout the years, but I'd say now I quite like adoration. So being able to pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament, in Jesus' presence, and that's the kind of the quiet, kind of reflective time for me. But then I also quite enjoy praise and worship, and just being able to just really I don't know, feel happy and joyful and kind of exuberant, really, and just praising the Lord through that way of prayer. And then finally, I quite like the rosary. It's kind of my go-to prayer in terms of actually traveling. So if I'm in the car, I like to pray the rosary. If I'm on the bus, it's nice to pray the rosary. So those are probably my top three ways at the minute, I'd say.
Yeah, it's quite a variety of different ways of praying there. Some are like praise and worship, if we're singing and things, and then the rosary is very much like a personal. I mean, you can pray it with people, but it's it's your prayer, working with Mary. I think for me, I quite like praying with the Bible, with the scriptures, and later in today's little episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I also quite like praying Liturgy of the Hours, which is a prayer that priests and religious would pray. If you meet a priest, like, he might have a big book, but I have an app on my phone, and every morning when I wake up, I can just pull up the app. I try and pull it up before I open Facebook or Instagram or my emails, but I don't always succeed at that, and just read like some of the prayers that the church has set for that day. I think for me, that routine really helps me just have a bit of focus, because otherwise I spend so long deciding what I want to pray about and how I want to do it, then I just...
Yeah, no, routine is important. It really is.
Yeah, so if any of our young people or not so young people watching wanted to start to pray, what would be your top tip for just starting to pray?
I would say probably to be able to find a quiet place with very little distractions, because I think it's much easier to establish kind of a prayer connection in silence, really. Um, so that way you can really kind of tune in a bit more to what you want to say to the Lord and what the Lord may want to say to you. So I would probably say start with that, finding a quiet place, relatively free of distraction. So, like turning your phone on to airplane mode or silencing it somehow, whatever. Um, that'd be the top one. There are other things too, but that's what I would say. What about you?
Yeah, I think for me, if it's been a while and I've sort of let prayer slip, if I want to get going again, I just kind of tell myself to just do it. Like you can put off so many things and say, oh, well, I'll do it when like I wake up earlier, or I'll pray when like I feel as though I've got my life in order. But really, like, just prayer is just a conversation between us and God. So just do it. It doesn't have to be done in a particular way. But something that really helps me is if I'm struggling to focus my thoughts, that can often be a barrier between me and prayer, and just to write them down instead. I literally just like write down what I would like to say out loud, but can't necessarily find the words for. So actually, we have a little interview to show you with one of our friends called Sarah. So I know Sarah from my time in Ireland as a missionary. She is all the way from Canada, but this is pre-recorded because it's the middle of the night in Edmonton right now, so I didn't want to make her wait up in the middle of the night to talk to us. But Sarah is a student and just finished time as a youth minister, so she has lots of helpful tips and tricks to help us start praying and develop a prayer life. So I hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoyed talking to Sarah. Great. Hi, Sarah. I'm really happy that you can join us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're calling us from today, your age, what you do, all that kind of thing?
Yeah. My name is Sarah. Hi, Sophie. I am from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So let's hop over the pond, and that's where I am. It is a different time here, and time difference is a thing, and waking up is a thing. Anyway, so what do I do? Is that the question?
Yeah.
What do I do? So right now, I'm in university for an after degree to become a teacher. Prior to that, I was a youth minister for 3 years. I did a year of mission work, and my first degree is in engineering. So what do? I don't know. I try to follow God's will and do cool things in my life. Yeah,
that's really great. So Sarah and I know each other from our mission year in Ireland, so it's really nice to bring in an international friend today. I've been pulling in favors from different friends that are involved in different fields over the last few weeks for these live videos, so it's really nice to have Sarah Skype us all the way from Canada. And like I said, this is pre-recorded, so Sarah isn't up in the middle of the night, although she's so gracious and so kind. I actually wouldn't put it past her to have done that, but it is very early, so I really do appreciate you joining us today. So you said that you're training to be a teacher now, but you were a youth minister previously. What has been your highlight of your time in youth ministry?
Yeah, I think so. I got to be there for 3 years, and honestly, my favorite part was just like watching kids that I know grow up and like take the small and the really big steps to grow in their faith. So you like have youth group every week, and you see kids every week kind of like come and want to be there, but then you have like a big pilgrimage or an event, and they really take like big steps and leaps in their faith. And just getting to like be a mentor alongside that, watching as kids like struggled with the church or with friends or with whatever kind of they were working through. So that's like a more serious answer. A more fun answer was every summer I would help with VBS, and I would always I would be helping the teens who were helping the little kids, and so we'd at the end of VBS, we'd always get a big fun bouncy castle, and I would rent it out for an hour after VBS was over, and all of myself and the teens would like jump in the bouncy castle. And so like yearly, it was a tradition to like just take off the shoes and just like, God, seriously, I felt like being youth minister was mostly just like reuniting myself with my childhood, but yeah.
And VBS is like a summer camp, isn't it? It's like
Vacation Bible school. So
yeah,
the like
places have different names for it. So
yeah. So little kids would come and like learn about their faith, but then we'd have teens help with it. So yeah,
it's really cool. I really like being in youth ministry. Like say, sometimes there's like really serious times, and you're like, oh my goodness, wow, like these young people, like it's so profound. I love it. This is so spiritual, so theological. And then other times you're just like running around. We have like messy games at camp, and like you're covered in paint and goop and running in a mud pit, and you're like, actually, this is really great, and I get paid to be here.
Yeah, like this is it. It's like they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm at work.
It's really great. So what have the last few months been like for you? So I don't really know what it's been like in Canada, but obviously, here in the UK, we've been like in quite a serious lockdown and then brought out, and then some areas have been thrown back into local lockdown. Some of us were put on furlough, some people have been working, some people were laid off. How have the last few months been for you in Edmonton?
Yeah. So pretty similar, probably. The churches significantly had a loss of income. So I was actually let go. And so were quite a few people, just because like they still are a business that needs to make money, even though we don't like to look at churches like that. So yeah, I've had a bunch of time off and basically I did a little like I quarantined for 2 weeks. We have this like 2-week quarantine that we're trying to do. And then I went and lived with my sister and her family. And she has 2 little kids. And I went and lived with them for a month in another city close by. So that was like amazing because as an aunt, there's no time I'm ever going to get like a month to go live with them. So that was fun. And then I came back and I've just been spending time doing things. So I have my own house. So cleaning the house, taking care of it, crafting, watching TV, praying, gardening, getting out of the house. Yeah.
It's really great that you've been able to see like some of the positive sides to it, because I feel as though sometimes since March it's been like, I don't know what the right word is, like just a real feeling of despair, and then every now and again you can find these moments of hope, like for you, like seeing your do you have a niece and a nephew, right?
Niece and a nephew, yeah. Like I think there were so many things where I was really sad that I lost my job and it like felt very despairing, but then I realized like there's been no time since I graduated high school. So I'm 27 now, so I graduated when I was 18. I've never had more than like a week off of work/school. So like to be able to do that was just such a blessing. So yeah.
And I know, like me, you've been doing a lot of different craft projects, everything under the sun to keep us busy.
Yes.
And you also mentioned that you've been praying in this time, which is really great because today's theme for our episode today is prayer. So what's your favorite way to pray?
Yeah, so over quarantine, I learned of this way to pray. It didn't make it up, but I can't even tell you where I learned it from, because you're just like have all these Catholic resources online. I think it was probably one of those like online free conferences or whatever. But anyway, this priest was teaching how to pray from like taking kind of prayer about yourself and praying to everybody in the world. And so it's this like 3-step prayer that's pretty simple that I like to use. So do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So like the 3 steps is 1, you think about your desires or struggles, or like it's all about you. So and then 2 is you think about other people that are having that same desire or struggle. And then number 3 is thinking about people who might have like an opposite desire or struggle. So in quarantine, it might be like, I hate that I don't have work and this just really sucks. Then the second part would be like that, like praying for people who also don't have work and who are at home and feeling the same way. And then number 3, praying for those people who are opposite, like still have to work, and realizing that like that is also a difficulty, that like now they have to work during quarantine, and that's probably like kind of concerning and a little bit unsafe, but they're trying to do it for our good. And so it kind of shifts especially when we're so used, like I'm so used to praying just about myself. I really like to journal. So, once you journal, you're journaling. It's all about like my emotions, how I'm feeling. And that's obviously great because like prayer is a relationship with me and God. But that prayer process is like an amazing way to turn like something that I'm struggling with and realizing that like there are same people that are on the same page as me, and then people that are like struggling with something very different. And so it kind of turns it from me to the world, which I also think prayer is meant for. So
that's really great. We might try and write out some of those steps below in the comments at the end of on our Facebook and things, because I think I would like to start praying like that. So I think that's a really great way. And have you found that like your prayer life has changed over time? And do you find new ways to pray, different ways to pray, or do you always stick to the same thing?
Oh no, buddy. It's always changing. So genuinely, I started to grow a prayer life in university. I was faithful and a cradle Catholic, but like that didn't start happening. One of my favorite ways to start praying then was with music. I like have vivid memories of me putting in my headphones and like going on our transit systems and walking to class. And I had like one song that I would listen to was Good Good Father. Like put it on repeat.
Tear on the bus as you listen to it.
But when I was stressed about school or like overwhelmed knowing I had an exam to go in, I just like, that was the song, and I just put it on, and it made I could like give perspective to my day. And so that was how I like prayed. I don't like, it was prayer, but it like wasn't as deep prayer. And so over time I've tried to grow in just like the amount of time I give to God and like dedicated time. But I still frequently go back to music, because I think music in many ways gets our hearts like stirring, and our emotions are good and they can bring out good things. So so that helps. So I still go back to music, but like I said, I really like to journal. And sometimes that process has changed. So when I'm journaling, like it's like I'm writing to Jesus. But sometimes I like write out, I need to be more grateful. So I'll write out like 3 things I'm grateful for, or maybe I'll write like 3 things now I'm writing things like I'm sorry for, like that I've at the end of my day. So that kind of has changed. I also have really gotten into like I don't know, would you call them devotionals? I don't know. So like books, spiritual books, doing spiritual reading. Yeah, but like my prayer routine now mostly looks like I get myself a nice cup of coffee. I like it, and I like it strong and dark. And then I like will pray. Like I like praying the morning offering, and then some like consecration prayers or like acts of offering of my day and stuff like that. And then taking quiet time and like reflecting on the gospel for that day. And there's like, I finally figured out there's lots of apps that you can get for free and you don't have to buy fancy books. And just like taking more quiet time to pray. And then throughout my day, it looks more like maybe I'll pray a rosary, or pray the Angelus, or just put on music if I'm driving somewhere, that sort of thing. But I like that. I think as I've quarantine helped me. I had a lot more time on my hands, so like I got to give a lot more time, like specific time in the morning, to God, which has been a great benefit as well. So.
That's really great. And I think it's really good when routines do change a bit as well, because like we said, like prayer is a relationship between us and God, who's our friend. And you don't always do the same thing with your friend. Like you don't go to the movies every time you see a friend, or you don't always go to the same park. You like mix it up and you do different things with your friends. So it's nice sometimes to listen to music to pray or to write. Sometimes I like color in as I'm talking to God, because it's something that I can just do and helps me to like shut my mind off. So if something isn't working or it loses its focus, then you can switch it up and try something new, try something different.
Yeah, and like when my life circumstances has changed, like I know, like I try to give an hour in the morning to pray, but like if I get married and have children, like I don't know if I can give a full hour, but like I still want to give God everything I can. So like, what does that look like? So yeah.
That's a great transition into my final question, actually. That's like you're reading my mind. So what would be your like top tip for somebody who wants to start praying? So maybe someone who's like just discovering a friendship with Jesus and they say like, I don't think I can do a full hour like they've mentioned. Where can you start to start praying?
Yeah, that's good. So I'll be honest with you, my least favorite thing when you go to conferences and people are like, here's the top tip, you got to give 5 minutes. 5 minutes is not like, is the word to me was not a good tip, because what do you do with 5 minutes? I get all my stuff and I sit down, and I like sitting, I'm literally on a carpet in my living room right now. So it's like, I gather all my things. That takes a minute. I put away my phone. Maybe I'll put on a song and finally choose a song. I listen to that song and it's done.
Yeah.
Like
it goes by fast.
Yeah, it goes by so fast. And also like, if we're really trying to challenge someone, you would never tell someone who's trying to learn how to like become a soccer pro to like give 5 minutes to soccer. You'd be like, give however much you can. So that sounds really daunting, so I'm not going to say that. But like, depending on your personality type, prayer I think will look different for different people. So I really like knowing when I come sit down, I have something to start with. Like I need steps. I'm a very logical person. So that's why I like get my coffee and then I come and I pray my morning offering. I have a few prayers to some saints in here, and I know like I'm going to write down 3 things I'm grateful for and then journal. And I like leave the journaling part open to whatever that looks like. But for me, giving myself like, when I sit down to pray, what does that look like? And then making it really like conducive to my life. So I had to get up, I decided I had to get up early. This is the second tip, I guess. I decided I had to get up early so my roommate was still sleeping while I prayed, because if I woke up later, she was up and then we'd chat and then I wouldn't pray. So if you're living with family or whatever you're doing in your life, like if there's something that's going to distract you or like that sort of thing, help get that out of your life so you can or find a way to like have it not distract you so you can really give that time. And then final tip, just keep trying. Like there is not a right way to, there's probably a more correct way to pray. But like if you like praying with music, pray with music. If you like praying the rosary, pray the rosary. If you want to just sit and talk to Jesus, sit and talk to Jesus. But it's all like depending on your temperament, it's gonna be good for you. So
that's great advice. Is if you know yourself, then you can know what might be best for you. And I think like the best advice I was given about prayer was that it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of thought that you had to like sit there like this for an hour. If you've ever met some people that can sit still for like an hour, I can't sit still for an hour. Like I'm such a fidget. Like you've seen me in the last 10 minutes, I can move every 2 seconds. And so I know for myself that it doesn't have to be what it is for somebody else. It can just be what works for me. And if that means sitting with like a cup of tea, or if that means putting it away, or whatever it is, if you know yourself, then you can figure it out, because Jesus wants us to be ourselves. He doesn't want us to be somebody that we're not. So
yeah, like for instance, this is me cross-legged. Like I sit on the floor because I think I like you, I had it in my head that prayer had to be like kneeling in a church, and it had to be really holy. And then I started to realize, like, no, Jesus wants the most me I can be. And like, I guess for me, that's me sitting on my floor.
Like a teacher thing that we sit on the floor a lot with students, so we like to sit on the floor to pray. Because when I was teaching, I sat on the floor a whole lot with my students. So I think we're going to have to wrap it up now, because we've got some other things to get through in our morning live. But it's been really fun to chat to you, and I really appreciate all the advice and the tips that you've given to us today. That's really great, and it's given us a lot to think about as well. So thank you so much for calling in so early as well, and I hope that you're able to enjoy your cup of coffee and some prayer time in peace now before you head to school for the day. So thanks so much, Sarah, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so there's so much that we can take out of chatting to Sarah there. I really appreciate that she was able to share all of her prayer wisdom with us. So like I said, Sarah is a student, she's a trainee teacher, and also just finished up time as a youth minister. So she has lots of experience of, you know, helping other people to pray. One thing that I really took from it was just allowing yourself to be yourself in your prayer time, so it doesn't have to be always the same thing, or what works for me might work differently for Lisa, or you know what, Lisa really likes to sit still for an hour, but I sort of like to go and take a walk and chat to Jesus. Different things for different people. So I think Lisa now is going to introduce some prayer time that she's been working on. So Lisa's going to lead us through some actual prayer. So we've talked about it, so now let's put it into practice. So Lisa, do you want to take that away for us?
Yeah. So Tom's also one of our team members. So we've got this little project that we're doing. It's called God Speaks, and it's going to be a series of videos on a type of prayer that, so you're actually praying with scriptures. This is one of your favorite ways to pray, Sophie. And so it's called Lectio Divina. And so Lectio Divina is Latin for divine reading. But what we wanted to do was to kind of simplify it a bit and make it a little more accessible. So it's not a strict kind of Lectio Divina practice, but it's, I'd say, a modified version of it. So, so we put together a video and actually taking a person through the actual prayer time itself. So it's kind of geared towards people who maybe have not prayed that way before, or, you know, kind of new to that practice. But hopefully it will also be something that even people who are experienced with it might still be able to use it as well. So there's more of an intro in the actual video, but that will do for now, I think.
Yeah, so we're going to show you this video now, actually, and you can watch this on YouTube already. So if you've already seen it, great. We hope you join in again. If not, make sure you check out the other ones on YouTube afterwards. So I would recommend, I've watched the video before, I really like praying like this. If you want to like get yourself comfy and things, make sure you're in like a good place to pray. And let's start the God Speaks video.
Hey everyone, my name is Tom. I'm part of the Shrewsbury Youth Mission Team, also known as SYMT, and our goal is really to go into our Diocese of Shrewsbury and teach young people about Jesus and the Christian faith.
Hi, my name is Elisa. I also work for SYMT. Thanks for joining us.
So today we are starting a new series called God Speaks. And now you might be wondering, what is that? What does that mean? Well, let me tell you. So it's a little thing that we'll be doing where we'll be praying, maybe through the Bible or through scriptures. And what that is sort of using the scriptures and everything to make a little channel between you and God and figuring out how we can listen to him.
Now at this point you may be saying to yourself, is God even real? How can I know? If he does exist, does he hear me or even know me? What difference would it make in my life? Well, God wants to be a friend to you, and he wants you to be a friend to him too. He already knows you, and he loves you, and he wants to help you. We could all use a friend like that.
So let's say you're interested in knowing who God is. Well, you might be wondering to yourself, how can I be friends with someone I cannot see? Well, that's where Jesus comes in. He is God's son, but he's also human like us. So it may be easier to start off a little friendship with Jesus first. The scriptures we are often using in this series will be about Jesus. When you pray with the Bible this way, use your imagination, your heart, and your head as well. You are reading not just for information, but for transformation as well. So how does this work? Will I know that Jesus or God are responding to me? How will I respond?
Here's how we will begin. It would be good if you are in a comfortable place where you won't be easily distracted. I often pray in a big comfy chair and put my phone in airplane mode so it won't bother me. You may want to do that too. We will read a passage from Scripture 3 times, and each time I will ask you to listen to it in a certain way. After each reading, there will be a brief time of sitting with it to give you and God space to communicate. So let's begin now by taking a moment to settle in. I invite you to close your eyes and become aware of your breathing. Slowly breathe in and then out. Again, slow breath in, slow breath out. One more time, breathing in and breath out. The scripture we will be using today is Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 to 33. This first reading is just to become familiar with the passage.
Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, whilst he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance away from land, but the waves and the wind were against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down off the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed in the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "You truly are the Son of God."
Okay, now that we've done that, for the second pass, see if you notice a word or a phrase that God might be highlighting for you. If this word or phrase jumps out at you, pay attention to it. I invite you to close your eyes so you're able to hear better. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." You can keep your eyes closed, or if you'd like to read through it again on your own, that's okay too. So just sit with your word or phrase and pay attention to any images, feelings, or thoughts that come to mind, and stay with them. What does it mean to you? Could God be using it to speak into some part of your life? Take a moment and ask him.
For this third time that we're going to read the scripture, put yourself in the scene. Use your imagination. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you feel? What can you smell? If you're comfortable enough, maybe just close your eyes and imagine. Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side whilst he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance away from land, but the waves and the wind were against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down off the boat, walked on the water and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed in the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "You truly are the Son of God."
So, as this may have been your first time praying like this, how do you feel? Maybe you were able to sense God speaking to you, or maybe not this time. Stick with it though, it is a process. It would be good to write down a few thoughts about your experience so you can look back on it later and reflect on what it meant for you.
We want to say a big thank you for you coming along and joining us today. You might be wondering, where can I find some more of this? Well, no need to worry, we'll be releasing more videos, and this is just a small taster of what's in store for you.
If you have any questions or want to share your experience and talk it through, you can reach out to me, Lisa, or Tom, or anyone on the team through the contact page on our website, symt.org.uk.
So we hope to see you again, and remember to follow us on all our socials at Shrewsbury_YMT. And if you have any questions or you want to learn a bit more about what we do and who we are, visit our website at www.symt.org.uk. Thank you for coming. God bless.
God bless. See you next time.
I really enjoyed that time of prayer, Lisa. I think using the scriptures to pray is, I find it very peaceful, and I also find it a really good way to just to connect with Jesus. You know, it's the words of the Bible, Jesus' own words, and then we get to spend some time just, you know, with our own thoughts with him. I think it's a really great way to spend some time.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. And I also like being able to, you know, kind of use your imagination, because very often things are just kind of already imagined for us, if you know what I mean, in terms of, you know, television and films and, you know, everything on social media. So it's nice to actually be able to use your imagination and allow Jesus to kind of be in that with you.
Yeah, so thank you so much to you and to Tom for putting that video together. And there's going to be more on our YouTube channel as well, isn't there? So
Yes.
if people want to spend a bit of time in prayer like that.
Yeah, sorry. We've filmed the second video, and we're going to be doing the third one here very soon, actually. So hopefully it will be ongoing and continuing. So.
Great. So another thing to check our YouTube channel for is those God Speaks videos. So we wanted to close up our time live today by doing our weekly challenge. So we've just been talking about the Bible, and we've done lots of praying with scriptures there, but we like to do a weekly challenge based on the gospel reading we heard on the Sunday at Mass. So this week's gospel was from Matthew chapter 18. And I'm not going to read out the scripture because we just read some scripture. So this is like a little paraphrased version of what we heard at Mass. And Peter asked Jesus, "How many times should I forgive a brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times." But Jesus said, "No, not 70 times, not 7 times, but 77 times." And Jesus goes on to tell a parable where a servant owed a king 10,000 bags of gold. And the king is very merciful, and he cancels the man's debt and lets him go. However, as the man leaves, the servant meets a friend who owes him money himself. And rather than taking pity, he shouts at the friend and says, "You need to give me back all of the money." And when the king finds out, he says, "I cancelled all of your debt because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had on you?" And Jesus tells these parables because they're a story that have a moral to them. So Lisa, what's the moral of this parable that Jesus tells?
Yeah. So if you're looking at the story, so the king obviously kind of represents God, right? And so, you know, God is able to forgive us, you know, everything that all the sins that we've committed. So the idea is that, you know, you're able to extend that same forgiveness to the people in your own life. And I find too that just knowing that I'm forgiven by somebody else, that just that feeling of someone forgiving you, it's really priceless. And so to be able to extend that to another person, I think is just invaluable, really. So, and it's the whole thing with forgiveness. It's not easy. It's not ever easy sometimes. But it's on our journey, on our way to become more and more like the Lord, really. And I think once we've kind of got a hold of that one, of being able to forgive someone, then we're well on our way, I think, because it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's not easy to forgive or to accept forgiveness from someone, but it's something that we're called to do as Christians. It makes us more like Jesus when we're able to do it. So a couple of reflection questions, or maybe a challenge for you this week at home. So question number 1, who do you need to forgive? So is there somebody in your life that has hurt you in some way, or you feel like, you know, like caught up in your own heart about it? So who do you need to extend forgiveness to? But then also, who do you need to ask forgiveness from? Who do you need to own up to your mistakes and say sorry to them, and to ask them for forgiveness? Both things can be difficult. One isn't necessarily easier than the other, but some really good things for us to reflect on and to be able to do. And Lisa actually wrote a really beautiful reflection on the Sunday's Gospel. So if you want to read that, you can see it on our social media pages, or go onto our website and click on the latest blog section, and you'll be able to read that reflection. So I think we have come to the end of our time together today. There's been lots of information this week. We've heard lots of tips and tricks on praying. We've spent some time in prayer. I've really enjoyed my time live this morning. I hope you have too, Lisa.
I have.
hopefully next week we'll have some more good news stories. So if you have something that you've been up to recently that you would like to share with people, then make sure you send it in to us, and we would love to be able to share that. Maybe now that the schools are back, we might have some children that are doing some special things in school that they would like to share with us. So if you would like to find out more from SYMT, you can just about see our tags here. This is an S. It's above. It's above me. You can see the tags above here. You can follow us. Like I said, there's gospel reflections, inspirational things, different feast day, and also some fun stuff as well. So please do give us a follow and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notified about these videos in the future. So that's a huge thank you and goodbye from me, and also from Lisa, I'm sure, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.